what we would have been knocked back by. I know, and usually the worst bit is if you get knocked back, because if you actually go in there, they sort of like begrudgingly respect you, like, because it's kind of like, oh, well, you turned up and you kind of, you know, like you didn't sneer from the sidelines. But I do remember in Versus God, we couldn't get access to the Church of Scientology, but I really wanted to do something on the Church of Scientology, so we did this skit. And so I would have happily have gone to the Church of Scientology, but they kind of cut us off or whatever like that. So then we did this skit.
Yeah.
And it seemed a bit like a cheap shot. Like it even seemed like a cheap shot to me, but it wasn't my fault. It was because it was like, they wouldn't let us in. So, to be fair to them, they did let me in with my previous series, where I kind of turned up dressed as Beck at the Church of Scientology, because I heard that Beck was the Scientologist and blah, blah, blah. But I'm trying to think, yeah, we get like knocked back all the time, but it's always a balance, because sometimes, usually things that are like these big things in your head when you're writing them on paper, sometimes they end up being the smaller things, and then sometimes something that was smaller blows up into being a bigger thing, so it usually like evens out a bit, so yeah.
Anyone you really want?
Anyone what?
Any groups you really want?
Yeah, probably, like for instance, when I did the Black Like Me episode of Race Relations, where I went undercover as a black person in Chicago, I think ideally in my head, it's like I would have hung, and I remember this, like we're trying to get in with the Nation of Islam, which is like this black militant group, which probably would have made it a bit kind of better or stronger or more valid or something like that. So yeah, and I think we just, and often, because like there's so many stuff to do, it's like a researcher and a producer working it out, so I don't even understand. Often I don't even know how we got into somewhere or we didn't. But I had this weird relationship with one of the researchers here, and he's really good at like somehow getting us into places, and I don't even ask him any questions because, anyway, and so like it's like his role to just to get us into these places, and I don't even know how he does it. And then it's my role to just stay there, no matter how painful it is, until we get like something that we can use, or otherwise it's just too awkward turning back to Australia and we don't even, you know, we spent all that time and money, you know, trying to do something or whatever.